Hey music makers, welcome back to the studio. It's Dean, and I'm really excited about today's video because it's basically been 3 years in the making. As today I am sharing exactly how much money I made from my very first single release back in 2018. And I'm gonna show you all of the facts and figures. We're gonna look at how much money it cost me to make the song, to publish the song. I'll talk about my release strategy. I'll talk about how many streams it got, how many views on YouTube it got, and of course, how much money did it make here after 3 years of being published. And then we're gonna turn it all around. We're gonna turn it back to you because I think there are some things that I've learned that could be really helpful for you and some perspective that I've gained that could be really helpful and encouraging to you as you prepare to release your first song. So without wasting any of your time, let's dive in. So first, let's talk about the song itself. I think it's important for you to hear a little clip of that song just so you have some perspective on, okay, what kind of caliber song is this? Is it a huge high-level pro song? Is it a super beginner song? And so I'm gonna play a short clip from the song right here.
Save me, raise me, put my feet on solid ground, be my shelter, put a new song in my mouth, put a new song in my mouth, put a new song in my mouth.
So for this song, I will say that I was definitely not a beginner. I had been writing songs for several years, and I was about 2 years into getting really serious about recording. So if we were to put this song on a scale of beginner, intermediate, advanced, and pro, it's definitely not beginner. It's somewhere probably in between intermediate and advanced, maybe getting over into the advanced category, but definitely not in the super pro, super polished realm. So next, let's talk about how much time I spent creating and recording and releasing this song. And I logged about a solid 75 hours throughout the full course of creating and releasing this song. And that included my time writing the song, recording it. I did a zillion takes to try and get everything right, and I still got plenty of things wrong. And then probably what took the longest was mixing because I was still new to it. All that to say, I spent tons of time, even more than I spend now, because as I grow my skills, it actually takes me less time to complete songs. So next, let's talk about how much did this song cost me to produce and publish. Well, on the production side, I did it myself. This was a self-produced album, so I already had the gear. I did it in my home studio, a bedroom setup, so I didn't have any cost from the production end, and that is huge because usually the biggest cost in any song release is always the studio production. What I did spend money on for this song was mastering. This is where they take the volume of the song, they raise it up a bit so it's more comparable with other songs you hear on, say, Spotify or iTunes. They also just give it a little bit of extra sauce, just clean it up just that extra little bit, and I paid $75 for a professional master. And I have more thoughts on me spending $75 for a master on my very first single, but I'll wait and share those later. Then after the song was mastered and ready to release, I spent $40 to publish this song to all of the major platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, etc. Now, how did I get that song onto all the major platforms? Well, to do that, you have to go through a distribution company. And the one that I love using is DistroKid. Their starter plan is $19.99 a year, and you can upload unlimited songs, so as many songs or albums as you want throughout the course of the year, and you're only still gonna pay $19.99. But I stepped it up to the next tier at $40 a year because I wanted a little bit more on the analytics side, and I also wanted the ability to release under a different name because I produce for other people. So if you wanna upload your songs, you wanna publish your songs to all of the major platforms, I would highly recommend DistroKid. And if you use my studio's promo code, you'll actually save 7% on it, and I get a little kickback, so it's kind of a win-win for both of us. Next on the list, let's talk about my release strategy for the song, or basically who did I share this song with? Well, number one, of course, I shared it with everybody on my social media accounts. And at the time, I had about 200 followers on Instagram. I had about 600 or 800 friends on Facebook, so nothing massive. But more than just that, we actually did a local event called the Album Release Party, where I got to share my song live with almost 250 people, which outside of sales and streams and all that was just a super, super cool experience. And then beyond that, I created a lyric video for the song, which I then posted to YouTube. And finally, I shared this song with all of my current students and the YouTube channel that I had at the time. But the YouTube channel was much smaller than it is now. So I actually had a pretty large sphere of people that I could send it to for my very first release. All right, so the song is finished. It's published, it's shared. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's get into the numbers. And this is even 3 years after I released it. So number one, how many streams did this song get? Well, this song got 1,300 streams. Now that may not sound like a lot, but it's actually really good for a first single release. I'm pretty pleased with that. And next, how many YouTube views did the lyric video get? Well, it got just over 6,000 views over the course of 3 years. And I'll say that's probably much higher than average. Not that the song is awesome, but I had a decent sphere of people to send it to, and I was also sending my online students to this lyric video as an example of what kind of songs they could make in GarageBand. And with that, now we have finally come to the moment that you've all been waiting for. How much money did this song make after 3 years? It made a whopping $22.62. Isn't that insane? Now, I would love to hear some of your reactions to that amount. I would love for you to comment. Is that more than you thought it would be? Is that less? Is it way more, way less? So before you click out of this video, because now you've heard the numbers, I think there's some really important things that I can share with you that will help you in releasing your first song. So area number one, let's talk about production costs for your song or your album. So obviously, I'm a huge proponent of learning the recording and production process yourself. It doesn't mean you have to become this big pro, but if I can learn it, then you can probably learn it, because I'm not a techie person. I didn't go to school for this. With some solid tutorials and coaching and then plenty of practice, I got to where I could make a pretty solid production. So next, let's talk about mastering. As you heard, I spent $75 on getting a professional engineer to do a really solid master on the song. In hindsight, for my first release, I probably shouldn't have done that. I would not do that. I would not recommend that to other people. I would have actually used a free online mastering engine like at bandlab.com or lander.com, where all you do is drag and drop your file in and you can get a free high quality master. And if you're just getting started, you're probably not gonna really notice the difference between a $75 master and a free master, because it is pretty small, and to the untrained ear, they're just not gonna hear it, and that includes your listeners. So for the next area of your release, let's talk about publishing. Now, one thing I did do right is I think I used DistroKid, and that was a great idea. What I might have done was started with the $19.99 a year subscription as opposed to the $40 one. Now let's move to sharing your song or your release strategy. And that's where I don't think I would have done too much very different. I shared it on my online platforms. I shared it with the people that I'm connected to in my sphere, but I didn't badger them. I'm so glad that I didn't just knock down their doors and, hey, listen to my song, listen to my track. It's just annoying. Like, people aren't really gonna listen to it because you just throw it at them. But I will say, if you can set up any kind of live event, that is really cool. And I know that's hard in the current season we're in, but even if it's an online thing or a local thing, it's just really cool when people can attach themselves to the story behind your song, and they can attach to you. And that's where a lot of my initial listeners came from, was from that listening party. And now I know that some of you are thinking, well, sometimes people release songs and they just blow up. Well, I want to give you a little reality check here and say that usually when people blow up, it's not actually their first release. They have actually been releasing several songs or several albums before that, and they've built this consistent, this small but loyal fan base. And then once they get to that certain level and they have another great song or another great album, that's when their fans start to share it like crazy. And if you're consistent enough with it, you can actually get into the snowball effect where every song you do do is generating more listeners, more followers, more revenue, and it starts to compound. For example, my first song's lyric video that I put on YouTube, it got over 5,000 plays. That's in 3 years. Well, the single that I just released about 6 months ago, it already has 3,300 views in just 6 months. So to wrap this all up, I just want to say here that it's not all about finance and followers. When you make music, do it for you. You have to enjoy this process above the financial gains that it's going to give you, or above the following or the fame that it's going to give you. Because I'll commonly get 2 types of artists who come to me and want to learn. One is the ones who just love it. They enjoy it and they want to grow. And yes, they're willing to work hard and put in the long-term work. There's another group that comes to me and is like, hey, how can I make money on my music fast? Hey, how can I get heard fast? And I just want to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why are you even talking about this? You just started making music. You may need to make music for a year or 2 or 3, but don't think you're just gonna start off killing it. I mean, money should not really be in your mind if you want to be a music artist, because only a few get there, and they get there after years of hard work. So I hope that's encouraging. I hope it's a bit of reality to you. This has been Dean from the Songwriting Studio. If you're interested in learning how to record and produce your own music, then definitely stick around. And again, if you want to use my DistroKid link and save 7%, then check the links in the description. If you have a question, if you have a comment, definitely leave it below, and I will catch you in the next video.